Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Bearded Parrot, and this is a cigar review. The cigar in question today is called the Fugazi Don Carlos, and it is a knockoff off of the Arturo Fuente Don Carlos brand. Fugazi, if you didn't know, is a slang term for fake, so that's where you see the knockoffs. I've smoked a couple different Fugazis now so far, and I've had some buddies smoke some others. Good reports overall. I tend to like the more darker Nicaraguan smokes, where you get more of like the black pepper and kind of chocolate espresso notes versus Arturo Fuente. I feel like you get more of that kind of cedar leather traditional cigar smoke taste, and I'm just not as much of a fan of that. I do enjoy those in the morning. Those are great with like a coffee or something. So I am having a coffee today with this, a homemade cold brew coffee, white chocolate. So it should go pretty well with it if we're gonna see some of those notes. So before we get into the overall cigar itself, I will talk about the Arturo Fuente one first. It is supposedly a full-bodied cigar. It uses 10-year aged Dominican long fillers and binder and has a Cameroon wrapper. Some of the flavor notes that you're supposed to get out of the original Arturo Fuente Don Carlos is cedar, spice, with some nutmeg and cinnamon, coffee, leather, sweetness, and roasted nuts. Sounds amazing. Ranges from $10 to $12 a cigar for the double Robusto, and the double Robusto from Fugazi is what I got to mimic that particular size. This is the cigar itself, and just to let you know, Fugazis typically range from 350 to 450 a stick. So pretty good in value as long as it actually ends up being something that tastes good. But this is the cigar itself. Construction-wise, seems fine. Uh, doesn't feel like any tight on the body or anything, so I feel like it's probably going to get a pretty good draw. But we'll see once we actually cut it and do a cold draw. Just smelling the foot, I do get kind of a mixture of a kind of a caramel, nutty, and barnyard kind of smell. So getting some of those traditional smells you would get from a cigar like this. Smells good though. It's not unpleasant to the senses. So let me go ahead and clip this, and I'll go ahead and do a cold draw, and then we'll come back after I taken a few hits off of it. Okay. Hmm. Getting a little bit of sweetness on the cold draw. Interesting. A little creamy, little sweetness. I'm actually surprised by that one. I don't normally get that off of cold draws. But yeah, we'll find out, I guess. We're going to light this cigar up, and I'll come back in the first third to give my initial impressions, and then I'll come back in the halfway point to tell you what I thought of the overall first third. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'll be back in a second. Hey, what is up, everyone? Bearded Parrot back here. Just getting into the first third. If you want to take a look at the cigars, you can see that ash. Not sure if you can actually see it or not. My camera will focus, but it's fairly flaky. All of the Fugazis, honestly, so far, the ash is pretty weak. It falls off pretty quick. I've read that they're more of a Cuban sandwich, which, if you're not familiar with that term, essentially means mixed fillers, short, medium, and long, versus just long fillers in a normal premium cigar, which is not that big of a deal if you're looking for a cheap smoke that is meant to still actually taste good. Um, Another thing I wanted to note before I started getting into the flavors of this and the draw and whatnot is I just bought these. They just arrived 2 days ago, so they've been resting in my humidor for 2 days. This is almost like a dry box sampling, more than something that has been fully acclimated to my humidor. But it's been 2 days at least. at roughly around 67, 68% humidity in the humidor. But yeah, let's go ahead and get down into it. I'm going to go ahead and ash because I don't want to wear it. But yeah, let me take another hit here. Okay, so not getting a ton of flavor just yet, but what I am getting is actually pleasant. I'm getting sweetness, a little bit of cedar, and that sweetness almost has kind of a, I don't know, like fruity notes a little bit, maybe a cherry, black cherry taste to it. I don't have my exhaust fan on. I'm sorry, it's gonna get a little smoky in here. I'll turn it back on after I stop the recording. I'm in an ice fishing tent. Yes, that is my man cave outside when it gets cold, and I have a exhaust fan and air purifier and a space heater to keep myself warm so I can still smoke cigars. And it gets fairly clear in here when everything's turned on, and still stays pretty warm even down to 20-degree weather um, range. But anyway, so far not bad. Way better start than the Pledge Fugazi. I will give it that. Obviously, with a little bit of time in the humidor, it might actually get better, and as I smoke it down further, it might actually get better, but not real harsh, pretty smooth, good draw, effortless draw, honestly. I don't have to really try too hard, and I'm actually doing a V cut, so if I can actually get it positioned right. So yeah, V cut there, so not fully open either, but still getting a pretty good draw. Yeah, so cedar, leather, and sweetness is what I'm getting right now, which is about on par, honestly, with the notes that I've read online. So who knows? Maybe we'll actually start getting some of that cream and coffee in a little bit here. We'll find out. I'll come back in a little bit once we're at the halfway point and tell you what my overall impression of the first third was. Be back in a second. Hey, what's up? I'm back, and I am at the halfway point now. And as you can see, one of the things I wanted to mention there, the cigar is starting to unravel a little bit. Did a little saliva trick to kind of hold it in place, but it is falling apart. Again, it's been 2 days in my humidor, and it is a cheap smoke, so I'm not going to hold much against it from that standpoint. It is holding together for the most part, and I'm able to touch up things like that. The wrapper does seem pretty thin, though, overall, but yeah, getting back into the first third notes overall. Did pick up a few new things along with the sweetness and the cedar. Started to get some pepper in there a little bit, and almost like a whiskey peatiness kind of taste a little bit. Pretty interesting. Overall, still not like super flavorful, but it's a okay smoke. It's actually not bad for a medium bodied. It's pretty interesting. The original Arturo Fuente Don Carlos is listed as a full bodied, and this one actually is listed as a medium bodied, and I would say it's definitely right on par with medium. So they're right there. They at least listed the right things. That is one thing that I found interesting about the Fugazis is the Liga Privada Fugazis are pretty close to the original cigar. The pledge was nothing like the original pledge. The pledge itself is super dark, almost kind of a chocolatey wrapper, whereas the Fugazi version was super light. And they actually mentioned that um, on the description on the website, which is kind of puzzling a little bit because if you're gonna say it's a knockoff of a specific cigar, I would think that you would try to mimic that cigar as close as possible, not just flavor wise, but the color of the wrapper and the type of tobacco that's used and whatnot. But they don't, which is weird to me, but whatever. Um, this is just looking for a good cigar at a good price, really. So overall impression so far, Not a bad stick. Uh, Medium bodied, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of cedar, some peatiness in there, kind of like whiskey bourbon peatiness style in there, which is pretty interesting. I would say this is would probably be a decent afternoon smoke so far. I'm gonna reserve my overall judgment to the very end. We'll see what happens with the construction of the cigar, and we'll see what happens with the flavor profile as we get down further. One more note before I close out of here, before the end. It does burn pretty fast. I've noticed all of the Fugazis do that, and it's probably because of the whole Cuban sandwich mix filler thing, so it's going to burn a little bit quicker than traditional cigar, but still a good smoke overall. Yeah, for $3.50, $4.50, it's not bad. I've had better, but it's not bad. So we'll keep smoking this, and I'll let you know at the very end what I think. I am back for the final third of the cigar. As you can see, I am at the very bottom, and you can still see some of those construction issues, that wrapper splitting a little bit there. I'm not going to put too many points against it, given the fact that, like I said, just recently bought these. They've been in my humidor for 2 days at around 67, 68% humidity. So I can't really fault a cigar for some construction issues and whatnot that early in the process. But overall impression, not a bad stick. Way better than the Pledge Fugazi. Not nearly as good as the Liga Fugazi, but still way better than the Pledge. And the Pledge Fugazis actually got better after about a month sitting in the humidor. So I have high hopes for this cigar after it rests a little bit longer. I will say definitely on the light to medium bodied side for me. Overall notes, first third got more of kind of a sweetness and cedar. Not really any cream. In the midway point, got more of kind of pepper and sweet cedar, some peatiness there. And then towards the end, did pick up on a little bit of cream, not much, but a little bit of cream and pepper is kind of how this cigar finalized in the very end. Typically with cigars, I usually kind of rate them as, are they good? Okay. Are they really good? Maybe. Would I actually purchase these cigars again? That is really the kicker. I can say that a cigar was good, but it might be a one and done type of thing. Like once I smoke through the 5 pack or 10 pack or box or whatever it is, I might not ever purchase it again. So I have a list running of cigars that I will purchase again because they were enjoyable and I would love to smoke them again. This one, I'm not quite sure it's on that list just yet, but it is a decent cigar for maybe a morning smoke or afternoon smoke, in my opinion. Everyone is different. Obviously, I tend to gravitate towards more of the full-bodied, super rich, earthy, dark pepper, spice, chocolate espresso notes that you get from a lot of like Nicaraguan tobacco and Pennsylvania broadleaf or Connecticut broadleaf or Mexican San Andreas wrappers. This one, on the other hand, not really getting that, but that's actually not what the cigar is supposed to be about. So, based on the notes that they posted on Cigar Page's website, I would say it's pretty on par with what they said. From what I've seen online, the Don Carlos original is a lot more flavorful, so this is probably just a light version of that. But overall opinion of it is decent, not quite ready to purchase another 10 pack though. But we'll see with a little bit of rest in the humidor what that ends up offering. I think it probably will mellow out a little bit and might even pick up on some more flavors and stuff as it sits a little bit. So still not bad for $3.50 to $4.50 range that these tend to hover depending on if you get a deal or not. So yeah, I'm going to say good cigar, maybe not actually purchasing quite yet. Not necessarily a diamond in the rough, but it's definitely a smokable cigar, probably a little bit above smokable. This is something you actually probably could enjoy, uh, given the time of day and the type of profile that you enjoy. So that's pretty much it. I don't want to really say too much more because there really isn't much more to say. This has been the Bearded Parrot, and this has been my review of the Fugazi Don Carlos.